lots going on coming from the Crime Prevention, Justice and Security Cluster. Police Minister Bheki Cele says more work is needed to prevent crime in South Africa. This follows his visit to the family of murdered farm manager Brendin Horner in the Free State. Accompanied by State Security Minister Ayanda Dlodlo, Cele revealed that one of the suspects in the murder had several run-ins with the law. After his visit to the Horner family, Cele met the cynical community members who raised concerns about increasing stock theft and allegation of some police officers working together with criminals. Cele promised to return to the area in a few weeks to map a way forward regarding their concerns.
We have agreed that we will come back soon to work on those matters, to work on relationships that the community, on behalf of the community, they have reached. We know that 2 people have been arrested, but that is no comfort to the mother that have lost a young man of 21 years. It will always help if we work harder on prevention rather than reaction. Because even if those guys have got life sentence, that young man won't come back here. And it looks like was a very promising, with a lot of potential for him to grow going forward.
Joining us now to talk about the visit to Senekal is Minister of State Security Ayanda Dlodlo. Minister, good evening and thank you for your time on the news feed late night. The first question, Minister, is there a potential threat that exists to the stability of the country, to the constitutional order of the country, and general safety of the citizens? I'm asking this because of what we have been seeing, at least in the last 2 weeks. A police van being overturned, courts being vandalized, and if you are watching social media, there have been threats going back and forth of all sorts, with guns being brandished about.
I think the threat to national security will always exist in any country, not just South Africa. What is important is how it is that the intelligence services, including law enforcement, can deal with it in order to quell any threat that might afflict our people or even be a threat to our constitutional democracy.
Now, there are, of course, these perceptions that exist that our intelligence services are severely under-equipped. I mean, if what we saw going down in Senekal is anything to go by, one would say our police were just not ready for that kind of confrontation.
Well, we do have a fully fledged police presence in the Free State. We do have in the Bethlehem area, in Senekal. It's just that I think at that point they were not fully prepared for what was to come on that particular day. But we are prepared now that we have sufficient intelligence for us to put measures in place to ensure that what happened the other day does not occur again.
Were you surprised at all by the revelations that were given to you today by Mr. Bheki Cele around the 1 million rands of stock that has been stolen in the Free State, at least since the beginning of 2020, seemingly indicating to some kind of a stock theft syndicate operating there?
There's always been a problem of stock theft in countries that have an agricultural industry that is fully functional and fully operational. The extent and the quantum is what really shocked me today. I wasn't aware that it is to that extent, because if you take the numbers that were given to us on what is happening just in the Paul Roux area, you can imagine how rife the problem is throughout the country. And what is important for us now is to determine who is the market. And the most important thing for us now is to try and kill that market, so that the theft of stock does not escalate or even remain at the levels at which it is. So we have a responsibility to find who the market is, kill that market, to ensure that farmers find safety in their homes with regards to the livestock that they keep.
Yeah. Would you agree, though, that the kind of facts that we're dealing with here are not showing the police, even state security, in the best light, right? One of the accused actually has 16 previous arrests for crimes, including stock theft and robbery. The minister says when he addresses the community, they still need to go and find out, first and foremost, who are they selling the stock to, who are the people who are giving them information, inside information of what's happening in the farms, never mind the fact that they don't know who the syndicate is and how they're operating. There are a lot of we don't know, yet we've got a state security that's supposed to have that kind of intelligence.
Remember, state security's responsibility is not crime intelligence. That is the responsibility of police. But our responsibility as state security agency is to assist the police in their work, or just law enforcement in general to do their work, but also government in terms of planning for developmental purposes. So we will be working with the police to ensure that we do find who these syndicates are and whether it is stock that goes cross-border or remains in South Africa. But we do have a lead. After today's meeting, we do have a lead that we know where some of the stock goes to. So we'll be on the heels of those that are responsible for having made this market a vibrant market on the back of those that work very hard.
Policing rural areas has come into the spotlight, and it is quite a huge challenge, which I gather it requires all in the crime prevention cluster and security cluster to put all hands on deck. How are you in any way capable of restoring the kind of calm and order that we would like to see? I'm talking here as we are seeing members of the opposition saying on Friday they are going ahead with their protest rally in Senekal, which is one issue that has raised tensions at this particular point.
I personally do not think that we should be fearsome of what is happening in Senekal right now. We have had meetings with the farming community. And by the farming community, I mean the broad spectrum, from the workforce, your farm workers. We've had discussions with unions. So everybody was there in the meeting that we had today, because between the minister and I, we insisted that we do not just want to talk to farmers, because it is a community that is affected. It's a community that is afflicted. So in the discussions that we had today, we took on board the fears, the aspirations, the hopes, and also try to comfort everybody in that community, to say that we will be around. We'll be going back there in about 3 weeks' time, based on the information that we got from Mr. Salyoun and also from Mr. Skeppers and others that have spoken to us, including the black farmers of that area. So we're not foreseeing the type of the levels of protest and violence that we saw the other day. I think right this time around we are in control.
How in control are you, Minister? I mean, the issue of the police, for example, saying they couldn't act because the farmers who were protesting were armed. How in control are you? Are those farmers going to be less armed or unarmed? Are they going to leave their guns at home? Do you have assurance from those farmers about that?
When we had the meeting this afternoon, which was the feedback session, and also a planning meeting for Friday, we were assured, between the two ministers, we were assured that the plans that are put in place by the police and also SSA will include the Department of Justice when Minister Lamula joins us on Friday, are adequate for us to be comfortable that what we saw the other day will not repeat itself.
Now, what we've seen this week, Minister, is a businessman accused of being involved in the protest action at the court, being denied bail. Is that the sum of it? Is he the only one that would be put, I guess, to answer to the issues of the vandalism of the courts and the burning of the police van, or are more arrests being expected?
Investigation in this regard, investigations are ongoing, and we are expecting that more arrests are going to be made.
And how soon should we expect those arrests?
Well, I can't predict that, and maybe that's a question that you would want to put to Minister Cele, who would have sat with his generals and other police officers and detectives to determine the time period in which they'll be able to arrest the perpetrators. But I must say, it's going to be difficult just to say we'll arrest people tomorrow. Investigations are continuing, and arrests will be made.
Minister, is there a concern from your side, as far as state security is concerned, that there is a shift in society, particularly around racial tensions, that could see the kind of left-wing, right-wing confrontations that we have seen in the country in the past?
You know, what we saw today was quite heartening in a sense, that what we would have thought were tensions along racial lines to the extent that they have been portrayed were not what we experienced when we got to Senegal. First and foremost, we visited the family, and I can tell you that a family that is grieving would not want to see the spectacle that we all saw on television set the other day on what was going on at the court. So that's the first thing. But secondly, in the discussions that we had today, we gave the type of assurances that we could to the farming community in general. And the feedback that we got was that we would be able to all work together. I do not see a spillover into a racial tension between the black community and the white community in that area, because in our meeting we had almost everybody represented in that meeting. And people were called on to speak their minds out on what is happening. But I think in the meeting that we're going to have in 3 weeks' time, which is really going to be a joint planning session between the farming community in that area, law enforcement and intelligence services, would yield better results and we'll be able to report on that much better.
Minister of State Security, I appreciate your time. Thanks for joining us tonight. That is Minister Ayanda Dlodlo after that visit to Senegal today.